excited to have all of you join us today. And we do this show, this cooking show monthly, and we like to focus on the monthly specials, which I love because that's always when you get a good deal. So first of all, I want to ask a question. Do you just think in your mind, and you can chime in the chat if you'd like to respond, we'd love to hear. Do you prepare big meals every night? Like, do you go all out and make big fancy meals? Well, a lot of times we don't. Can you think of why you don't prepare big meals every night? Love to snack. Kimberly, thanks.
No time.
No time, right. And have you ever, what do you turn to when you don't have time? Maybe you don't feel like cooking, you don't have the ingredients in your fridge. What do you turn to instead? I know my husband, he makes a mean bowl of cereal.
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
He makes a what?
A mean bowl of cereal.
Oh,
That's what he goes to. If there's no dinner, that's what he goes to. He loves his cereal. And that's okay. I mean, we turn to those things sometimes, but on the most part, if we don't have the convenience we're going to show you ways to be more convenient and to be able to have meals quicker. We'll show you 5 reasons why Thrive will help make your life better. And we'll go through those reasons throughout our cooking show today. So first of all, we're going to turn the time over to Karen, and she'll get us started on our first recipe.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen. Today we are actually going to be making a treat. This is a blackberry popcorn ball. So I was thinking about making these earlier for Christmas. I never got around to it, but I thought, hey, I'll do it now. The kids can still enjoy it. And actually we have a youth activity tonight. I'm gonna bring these two and let all the teenagers go at it. But blackberries are super delicious and they're very colorful. So it's a great way to add color to these popcorn balls and nutrition without adding food coloring, because there's a lot of questionable thoughts and theories out there about food coloring. And, you know, if you can do it naturally, it's even better. So I'm just going to adjust the camera and show you how to get started with this. So just hang on a second. Gotta switch my camera around.
I like seeing the cans on your shelf back there.
Thank you. Yeah, I have them all over my kitchen. All right, so can you see the stove okay?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so I'm just going to put this on medium heat. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of butter. No, yeah, 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to add 32 big marshmallows.
I don't want to talk because I don't want her to lose count. I'm not good at counting. I'm a dump. I wonder if that's about a bag full.
There we go. I think that's 32. Okay. So I'm just going to take a minute here to just let this melt on medium-low heat. And so what I did a little bit earlier was I took these blackberries. So this is what the blackberries look like. And I put it in the magic bullet and I powdered it up dry. So it just looks like this. And once the marshmallows melt, then I'm going to just pour this in with some vanilla.
do you know I've never made popcorn balls?
You've never made them?
Never.
Well, my mom used to make them when I was a kid. I remember actually making them for a school fundraiser. fun time. And yeah, I just thought they would be fun to make for the kids.
You're helping me to be a more popular grandma. Thank you. I'm going to try this.
Okay, so when I was making this earlier, because it'd been a while since I made it, my recipe said 2/3 cups of unpopped popcorn or 10 cups of popped popcorn. There is a huge difference. And I'll show you the difference in a minute, but
Oh.
I would really suggest measuring once it's already popped. And it might have to do with the type of popcorn popper you have. But
And if you pre-pop it, then you don't get the hard kernels in your mouth. I
yes.
pre-pop when I do caramel popcorn, and it helps to sift through those hard kernels to break your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you are putting the popcorn in, just make sure you're using your hands to let the seeds fall down so you don't get any seeds in your popcorn balls. So this is really nice to be able to use berries, not just for the coloring, but it's just very convenient. I don't have to worry about washing the berries. And with a lot of the Thrive Life food, it just is so handy to have that if you do make those big meals every day, it's a lot easier. And you don't have to peel, you don't have to chop it. It's really great. And so it just gives you more time to talk and more time to just have fun with the food. So I really appreciate that with the Thrive Life food. Okay, so this is pretty much melted. So I am going to put in some vanilla. I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract.
Is your heat still on?
Thank you. No, I just need to turn it off. Yeah. So the heat is off now. And then I'm going to dump in the blackberry powder.
Oh my.
See how
goodness.
beautiful that color is?
Wow.
I love that.
And you know what? Red food coloring is like the worst. It is the worst.
Yeah, it is. So this is a beautiful color.
Oh, the kids are going to love that. What a good thing for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's
Good
true.
idea.
Oh.
And you can,
All right.
sorry.
So it's pretty simple. Now we're just going to put in the popcorn. And so I pre-popped it. And then I measured it up. So there's my popcorn. And I'm just going to put it in here. And then I'm just going to mix it. It takes a minute to mix. And then once it's fairly coated, then I'm going to wet my hands and shape them into balls.
And about how much popcorn did you use? Sorry, I missed that.
So it's 10 cups of popped popcorn, or what should be 1/3 cup of unpopped popcorn.
Right.
My original recipe said 2/3 cup. So in a batch I did earlier, it's not as coated and it's still fine. My kids still enjoyed them, but you want to be able to coat them really well. So
Well, they probably don't stick together as well if they're not coated really well.
they did, and I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, if you want that marshmallow throughout, so it's
Wow. And how many balls are you going to get out of that?
so I should be able to get 12 balls out of this.
And you could really adjust that to any flavor you like.
Sure.
Absolutely, so that you could have. I did ones earlier with strawberries, but you could do raspberries, blueberries. Yeah. All right, so I see how that's coming together pretty nice, and it's a nice bright color. So I'm going to start shaping them into balls. So see how quick this all kind of comes together.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna wet my hands a little bit. Marshmallow can still be a little bit hot. And then I just take some and just put it into a ball. And there you go. Then I just put it on some wax paper
I love
and just let it cool.
Well, I'm having a grandson sleep over this weekend, so that's what he and I are going to be doing.
That's great.
great idea. Thank you, Karen. That's awesome.
You're welcome. So let me just show you some ones I did earlier that didn't have as much marshmallow. This one was a strawberry. So it's still stuck together okay. But you can tell this one has a lot more marshmallow.
Right.
I still actually got 12 balls out of this one, but I think with more marshmallow, it becomes more compact. So either way, I still got 12 balls, but.
So when you taste that, can you taste the blackberry? Can you taste the berry, like the flavor of it?
That's all stuck to me. Yeah, I can. It's nice. It's really nice.
So much for blackberries being black, eh?
I know. That's okay. I don't mind this color.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Better than black.
That's perfect. I like that we started with dessert. I love that. Thank you, Karen. That's
You're
awesome.
welcome. So I'll just continue making some balls. And if you want to go on to the next one.
Okay, and then we'll come back and have a look at that when you're all done. That's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time over to Cindy. She has something for us.
All right, I'm making lasagna. And I have to tell you, the reason I'm making lasagna is because I have some freeze-dried meat. So just a little bit of background. I am not a vegetarian, but I don't cook meat. I have not cooked meat for most of my kids' life. Nobody can remember me making meat, although I did at one point. And the reason I don't cook meat is just because raw meat is gross and ugly. And so I was vegetarian for a little while, and it made it very hard for my husband, and especially when I didn't like to cook meat. So we decided that we would meet somewhere in the middle, and he could cook the meat, and then the meat could be on the table, and we've lived happily ever after. However, when we started, I'm in Canada, so Thrive Life had freeze-dried meat long time before I had it. But when we started getting it in Canada, one of the very first things I ordered was the ground beef. And my practice at the time, because I was kind of new, and so there were a lot of things I hadn't tried. And so what I made a point of every single month, I bought something that I never had before. And then I would open it up as soon as it got here. I would open it up, I would smell it, I would taste it, and I would decide, what am I going to do with this? And I would do something with it either that day or the next day. And that's exactly what I did with the ground beef. And when I opened it up and I smelled it, I thought, okay, so there you can see, isn't that nice? I thought, you know what? This reminds me of lasagna. And I had not made lasagna for a very long time for a number of reasons. Primarily, it's very messy. And I didn't want to have to brown the meat. And another reason I didn't like to brown the meat or I didn't like to cook meat is because it's a splashy, greasy mess all over my stove. And I didn't want to clean that up. So I just didn't do some things that took ground beef in it. And lasagna was one of them. So that day I decided I am making lasagna. And my family is going to be in for such a treat today. When they get home, they're not going to know what hit them. So I'm going to show you what I do. This lasagna is going to be ready in just a few minutes. And then, of course, we'll put it in the oven, and that's going to be the same no matter what. So I'm going to put this down, and I'm not going to see very well. What can you?
Looks good, Cindy. That's perfect.
You're good right here? If I focus on that corner. Okay. So what I've got here is cottage cheese. And I don't always have cottage cheese on hand. But today I did, so I'm using it. And one of the things that my dad used to do years ago, he was the cook in my house, is he put cottage cheese in, and then he always put an egg in and spinach. So that's what I do. So I've got, so this is powdered egg. So this is scrambled egg mix. It is so handy. This is equivalent to 1 egg, and I'm just going to stir it in there. And then I've got a bunch of spinach. I'll see if that's as much as I want. I may end up putting more in. And then I just decided I'm going to put in some green onions just because I can. And I've got them ready. And I'm kind of heavy on the cheese. This is going to be a very cheesy lasagna. So I've got some Parmesan cheese, and I decided I would put it in there too. So that is, I am pretty confident I'm not going to be putting any more spinach in that. I'm just going to mix this up. I may end up putting just a little bit of water in that. Just, we'll see how dry it's going to be. I like putting the egg in because then it cooks and you don't have sloppy when you're dishing up the lasagna. Egg will fix that. Okay, I am going to put in just a touch of water.
I never thought about putting an egg because sometimes that cottage cheese can be a bit runny, so the egg would make a difference.
Yeah.
You know what that egg does? It actually makes the cheese kind of foam up. So when you have that cheese layer in there, it's nice and foamy instead of just melty and wilty.
Oh,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
well, I have tried it without the egg before, and I just feel like it's just kind of sloppy. And when I'm dishing it out, it's not nice and neat and compact. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. And you know what? Pepper would be nice. And I'm not going to put any salt in any of this, but I really, really like pepper. So, whoops. Okay, so what I have here, this is some tomato sauce that I made last year. And what it is just, so it was in this jar, and I've just got roasted tomatoes with lemon, onion, garlic, and then salt and pepper in there. And I really like doing that when I make tomato sauce. I don't cook it down. I just chop them all up, put them in the oven and roast them, and then just put in whatever seasonings I want. So that's what I've got. And there's quite a bit of water in that. And so I'm going to put in some tomato paste. I do want some of that water because of the noodles that I'm using. But so here, let me tell you about the tomato paste. So everybody knows what tomato paste is, but do you know what tomato powder is? And I feel bad telling you about this because it's discontinued, but I just checked an hour ago on the website and it still does exist if anybody is so inclined. But can you see that this is why it's discontinued? So that is a great, very compact lump of tomato powder. And that is a problem for some people. It's not a problem for me. And I would rather, the thing is, it's a powder and it's very fine. And so when it compact, or when it meets with the air, the moisture in the air compresses it. So you're going to get hard on the bottom. Some people don't like that. The alternative to that is to put in some anti-caking agent. But Thrive Life doesn't use artificial things. And so an anti-caking agent is kind of contrary to the whole philosophy of what we're doing. So really what I do is I just scrape it out with a fork. And like, oh, it's not that inconvenient, actually. I'd rather do that. Pardon?
Like you said, it really is when you get to the bottom of the can, because when you first open it and you use it, it's perfectly powdery and it works amazing. I only get that caking if I don't go through the can fast enough, or if it's been sitting on the shelf and there's a little bit left in the can, that air will make it compact. But I do the same thing. I scrape it and it works great.
Well, I'd rather do that than have anything artificial in it. So it's not an inconvenience for me. So let me just show you some other thing. This actually is, now this is an old label because I have a lot of Thrive from a long time ago too. And that is just the tomato powder. So that's the tomato, sorry, this is tomato sauce. It's got the powder in there with some seasoning and a little bit of a thickening agent, probably, I don't know, cornstarch maybe, something like that. So that when you're making your tomato sauce, it's the right consistency. I do use that quite a bit. If I want just a little bit of tomato sauce, if I want a quart of tomato sauce, then I'm just going to go back to what I do in the fall. So right now, I have actually prepared quite a bit of that tomato powder into paste for, because I knew I wanted some today, but I'm also doing a big dish for a funeral tomorrow. So I just thought I'd get ahead. So you use it just exactly. If I didn't have that already prepared, I would just pour the powder in here and just stir it up so that it just thickens it. And it's not just that it thickens it a little bit, is that it's very, very strong tomato flavor. And so it really just gives your tomato sauce a little bit more pizzazz and a little bit more of that nice acid. Okay, so I'm going to just put a layer of that in the bottom. And either Kathy or Karen told me they didn't usually put meat in that bottom layer. So that's a good idea. I'm not going to either. So this is the thing that changed my life.
You're making me want to make lasagna tonight, Cindy.
Well, I would wager that there's some stuff that's not all stirred in. I would wager that you have everything you need on hand.
Yes.
And so that means you could. It just, when I made it that first day and I thought, the thing that took the longest was cooking the noodles. All right, so I've got the noodles. They're already, whoops, that one's a little bit big. So let's wait for that one. So we'll put a layer of that on, and then I'll put that there. Then I'm going to put in this other cheese mix. And look at that. That is not going to be runny.
Cindy, last time I made lasagna, I used gluten-free lasagna noodles, and they worked really well. So for people who are gluten-free, this is still a really good option to use these type of freeze-dried ingredients and still be able to have gluten-free recipes. So
that is good to know. Thank you. Okay, so, and if you've been around me for long enough, or you know that we have freeze-dried cheese, cheddar, and the Parmesan that I used was freeze-dried, and mozzarella. And what I've got, this is a lot of cheese. I've got some Havarti left over from Christmas. I've got some old cheddar left over from Christmas that I was chopping up with my ulu, which is why I cut my stupid thumb today. And so I'm just going to put that on top. And then we're going to do more sauce. And this time I'll put the meat on. So, one of the reasons I didn't make lasagna for so long was because it took me as long to clean it up as it did to put it together. And to make a small batch of lasagna was ridiculous. Why would you do that? It made such a big mess that you might as well make a lot of lasagna and put it in the freezer, because it was going to be the same amount of mess no matter what you did. But now you can do a lot and you can freeze it, or you can do a little bit. But look at that. Like, there's your meat. No more browning, no more greasy splattering all over the stove, and no more thawing more than you need and using more than you probably even want to.
So Cindy, did you refresh that meat beforehand, or are you putting it in dry?
No, this is dry. This is just completely dry. But there is enough liquid in that tomato sauce that is going to be beautiful. It's going to be refreshed perfectly by the time we're finished. So how convenient, eh? Whoops. Ha, too many spoons here. My dad, when he was making this, of course, you would take the fresh spinach, and you know what? I think I'm going to use all the rest of this here. You would take the fresh spinach, and then you would steam it, and then you would strain it, and then you would chop it. And even if you use the frozen spinach, that's what you're doing. You're doing all that, and that just takes extra time and an extra pot and a little bit more of a mess. And I loved the idea of the spinach in it, but I very rarely had exactly everything that I needed at the same time. And so I didn't always put spinach in. Now
with
I do.
spinach too is it goes bad so fast. You buy a bag and you use a handful and the rest is slimy. So that waste is huge
Yeah.
with spinach. How many people, I'd love to see a hands up of how many people actually go through the full bag of fresh spinach without waste.
You know, that was a game I used to play with myself for years and years, see if I could get to the bottom before it spoiled. And I very rarely did. Once in a while when I did, I felt like a success as a human being, but that is not an issue. And there is in this can, in this size can, which is a family can, there are 11 and a half bags of spinach in that. And 0 of that is going to waste. So what a savings. I've heard people say, you know, comment on the price, and I think, yeah, well, you know, the average statistic for a North American home is 25 to 40% of what we bring into our house in groceries is going in the garbage. That is a lot of money. Depends on, I guess, whatever you're spending, but that can be easy $2,000 or $3,000. Like, what would you do with a couple of $1,000 that you didn't throw in the garbage? That's probably one of the biggest reasons that I use a lot of Thrive, is that it's 0 waste. Okay, so I'm ready for noodles again. Okay.
That looks amazing, Cindy.
Well, and how easy. Okay, I thought I was going to use a lot more noodles, but this filled up faster.
I love to put spinach in my lasagna too, and having that freeze-dried lasagna is pretty much the only way I'll add it because it is so convenient.
The freeze-dried spinach, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And if you have people who don't really like spinach so much, you could even powder it up and put it in there too if you wanted.
Yeah, but you know what? I find, like, I even put spinach in my yogurt and like with fruit, and it just, spinach has got such a mild taste
Yeah.
that it's not offensive. Even Dan, he thinks everything, if something green is on his fork, he's gonna die. But he'll eat the spinach because it's such a mild flavor. It's very hard to be offended by spinach.
Well,
Okay,
and
so I've
even
covered my last layer. I'm just gonna put in some more meat. And then I'm just gonna cover it with my, so, you know, the other thing is with this meat is I did not have to thaw and then wonder what I was gonna do with all this extra ground beef that I had to cook up, because now I'll just dump that back in the jar. Oh, you know what I forgot, which is too late now, is I actually had some, this is basil from my garden, and I thought I would just sprinkle that. So you know what? I think I'll do that right now, actually. I meant to do it all along, but forgot.
You know, when we were talking about spinach, did you know there's actually 11 and a half bags of spinach that fits into a large can of Thrive?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, you did say that. I missed that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that's a lot. And
That's a shocker, right? Like, that's a lot of, and when it goes on sale and you figure out the price compared to what you're buying in the store, even with the Canadian exchange, because, you know, probably not all of us on this call, but we are in Canada, so we're dealing with that. But when you do the math and figure out how much spinach you've got in there, it's a really good deal. And you know, it's all about the sales, right? Like, I just always shop the sales. And that's kind of how we were grocery shopping when we were in the stores anyway, was shop the sales. So if you're shopping the sales and you're getting free shipping, that kind of balances out that Canadian dollar difference pretty good. Whoops. Okay, that's it. It's done. I will put it in the oven. It won't be done by the time we're finished, but maybe I'll insert a picture in my comments at the end. So that's it. How fast was that?
Amazing. That looks fantastic.
that's so good, Cindy. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm going to make a little something as well, but I'm going to start with showing you our cans and the different sizes that we have. So this is our family size can, and this is a pantry can. Now you can fit 3 pantry cans into 1 large can. So if you're looking at convenience of that, sometimes the small cans, you go through it faster, but it fits on your pantry shelf easier. I'd like to show you as well What with the pantry can, what's nice is that we have a snap top lid like this. So you just snap it open and peel it. That's all. Just, it's easy. You don't have to even use a can opener. But if you're looking and you're going through something a lot faster, then of course the larger can always works out to be a little bit cheaper. But what I really like is the ingredients. Can you see the ingredients on here? It's peaches. That's it. There's no added salts, sugars, or preservatives, which I love. And the reason why we don't need that is because we pick our produce at the peak of ripeness, which in turn has more color, flavor, and nutrition. And then it's flash frozen within a couple of hours and then freeze dried and put into our cans that then have a 25-year shelf life. That's pretty sweet for the cans. Now, what's nice is that we actually have more nutrients in our cans because it's picked ripe. Unlike a grocery store where produce is picked green so that it can last as it travels to the grocery store, losing nutrients every day. And then it gets on your grocery store shelf, not to say how long it sits there before it gets and sits in your fridge. So we're actually having a lot more nutrients in our can, which I want to talk about the peaches because they're on sale. And I was asking Cindy, I said, what do you do with your peaches? And she's like, well, I eat them out of a can. And I'm like, so do I. That's my favorite way to eat them. I'll also throw them into smoothies often, but I wanted to show you just how easy it is. You open the can, and this is what it looks like, peaches. And then I love to I'll take a little handful of peaches, put it into a cup. It really is this easy. And then I'll tilt my screen just a little so you can see what I'm doing. So here's my cup of peaches. I will take some yogurt, whatever yogurt, and I just dip it and I eat it. So crunchy. I'm sure you can probably hear that. I didn't want to take a big bite because then I'll have a mouthful. But that's just how easy it is with our food. You can eat it dry, just like this, or you can refresh it, just like you've seen in some of these other recipes. It's super easy. I like doing that with apples as well. I'll take the apples and dip it in peanut butter and snack on it just like that. So it is safe to eat, and it's delicious right out of the can. And our peaches.
Can I interject something there, Kathy? That's my can of spinach. I mean, of peaches. So show your can again. They're different. The labels are different. This is an old label. You've got a new label. I bought this 8 years ago, and I just opened it up this week, and like they're still beautiful. That's one of the things that I love about this. 8 years later, it's still as beautiful as it was when it went in that can. So there is.
Yeah, that looks just like Kathy's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I zero waste. Very delicious. Okay, sorry. Commercial's over. You can go on.
That's awesome. So our peaches actually have 21 times more vitamin C than the fresh produce peaches you would buy at the grocery store. That is because we pick at peak of ripeness, whereas grocery stores don't do that. They need the food to last. And we have this symbol. There it is. There's a Nutrillock symbol. That is on our cans. What that means is we go through a 40-step process to ensure the highest quality, taste, and nutrition are in every can. So you're getting quality in every can. Now, I'm going to prepare my meal, but I just wanted to show you a couple of things that I do also at home. I scoop right out of the can, and I will show you in this recipe. I'm gonna make a taco soup because a lot of the ingredients that are in my taco soup are on the monthly specials. But I also make meals in a jar like this. It's just a jar. I dump all the different ingredients from the sauce at the bottom all the way up, and I have all my ingredients for a meal. This one's actually spaghetti with mushrooms and peppers, and I just boil a pot, a couple cups of water, dump this in, and then boil it for a couple minutes, and I have an instant meal. So this is if I want to make it myself, or we also have meal pouches. These have a 20-year shelf life. They're amazing. We have a bunch of different meals to choose from, but if you don't like to put things together, you can have this option as well, which is fast and easy. You just tear the bag open, dump the hot water in, let it sit 5-10 minutes, and you have an instant meal. But I will show you how I do it at home with my cans. So I'm going to tilt my screen as I talk to you so that you can see what I'm doing. So here's my can so you can see. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start with black beans. These are our instant black beans. And I'll just sprinkle a few in there because I'm just doing a single serve. I'm not doing a full recipe like Cindy. I'm just having this just for myself. Then I have the ground beef. I'm going to toss in some ground beef, a little bit of that, and I'm going to throw in some cheese because I love our cheddar cheese. Now you can refresh it. I'm adding it in dry. I just love the flavor of it. I even sprinkle it dry into my salads just to give that little bit of crunch, but it kind of tastes like, you know, when you grill cheese and a little bit of cheese oozes on the side and it fries a little bit in the pan. Ooh, those are my favorite bits. That's how it kind of tastes like to me in my salads. Just that little crunchy bit of cheese. It's so good. Okay, I'm going to add some peppers, just a couple peppers into my soup as well. And I have green chilies. I actually opened my green chilies today and it was empty because my husband puts this on everything. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of green chilies. That's what it looks like. I'll sprinkle a little of that and onions. I put this in everything. So here's the onions right here out of the big can. I'll sprinkle a bit of that. This is actually how I cook. It's just an open can, sprinkle and dump. Then I have corn. I go through corn a lot, so I always get a big can for this. So I'll sprinkle that in, a little bit of that. You'll see how colorful this ends up being. It's so awesome. Okay, and I have a little bit of our garlic. I love garlic in everything, but I hate having to peel the skin off of garlic. So this is a way that you have it already done, and it's so flavorful. I actually had one of my kids the other day had a little bit of a sore throat, and they're like, "Mom, what can I take?" I'm like, "Go take some garlic." So they took a couple pieces of garlic, chewed it, and swallowed it, and it totally helped their throat. And it gives you lots of, there's so much goodness in garlic that you can't go wrong. So then I have a little bit of chef's choice. I'll sprinkle a little of that in. I love our chef's choice. I gave one to each of my kids for Christmas because this is all they wanted. This is their favorite Thrive item. For sure they wanted that. And I'm just going to take some taco seasoning as well. I'll take a little bit of that, about half a teaspoon for a single serve. And then like Cindy, I do have the tomato powder, but in this, I really like the tomato sauce. This is what the new can, there it is, new can looks like. I really, with this, I make tomato soup, tomato sauce, all just depends on how much water you add to it. So this is what it looks like. Now this one has the seasonings in it, as you can probably see here. I'll just grab a spoon and show you. But you can see there's seasonings in it, which I like. The tomato powder has no seasonings. So I just add a little bit of that. A little goes a long way because it actually thickens right away, which is so good. So I have all my ingredients. This is my soup. You can take this right now and dump it into a jar and save it for when you need it. And then you just add hot water to it, which I'm going to do right here. You can put this into a pot and boil it if you have larger amounts for your whole family. I'm just doing a single serve. So I have the hot water right here that I'm just going to add the hot water and then mix it up. Right.
That is amazing.
You can see all the colors just starting to brighten up. Now, the thing that takes the longest to refresh in this soup is the black beans. They are instant, so they are basically, soaked and boiled. So it's all pre-cooked, so it really only needs about 10 minutes. But I leave them an extra little bit longer just because the hot water is just refreshing it. I'm not actually cooking it, I'm just refreshing it. So can you see how yummy that looks? I wish you could smell this. It smells so good.
You know, when you have kids come home from school or somebody is in a big hurry, they got a basketball game or whatever, and you can put soup together like that, or they can do whatever it is that they want. That's astounding.
Exactly. I love how easy that is. And we do have single serve meals ready to go for my kids if they don't want to scoop out of the can, although that is very easy. Just like you saw, it's a scoop out of the can, sprinkle it together. You can follow recipes. I do that once in a while, but usually It's what I feel like. Ooh, this looks good. This looks good. And we put it all together, and it really is that easy. So this is a little taco soup. We do chicken fajita soup, depending on what you feel like. But I wanted to cover those things. And the one thing that I love with our food is that the shelf life is amazing. 25 years on a can unopened. After you open the can, it lasts about a year on my shelf because we live in a drier environment. So it lasts for about a year sitting on my shelf. Who can say they can actually have meat sitting on their pantry shelf for a year? We can't. It's just not the way it works. But I love the peace of mind that it gives me having and being prepared. I have what I need sitting on my shelf. Just it's like food insurance, really, because it lasts so long. It is like food insurance. When I was newly married with my husband, he had his own business. He was a plumber and had his own business. Well, he didn't always get a regular paycheck coming in. We were lucky if we got paid in the month, but there were some months that we didn't. And I was so grateful that I was able to turn to my Thrive on my shelf and still find meals for my family. And that gave me that peace of mind, having the food just sitting there. And if I want it for an emergency, you just never know. It's great to have on hand. And fresh food really dictates when you eat it. Thrive food lets you choose. So if you want to have it sit there until you want it, you don't have to go in your fridge and be like, oh, I've got to use up my broccoli today because it's going bad. And so you have to have broccoli today, even though you might not feel like it. You're having it if you don't want to waste it. So
Well, and you know what else, Kathy?
yeah.
It's not just you're right about you've got something in the fridge and you need to hurry up and use it because you're going to lose it. But when you get it to that point, the highest nutritional value is long gone. Like that is probably 2 weeks from the time it was picked to the time you bought it. Then it was in your fridge for a week or two. There is almost nothing left by that point. So yeah, okay, you didn't throw it in the compost, but it wasn't very good for you compared to what you take out of the can. What you take out of the can is 95+% of the original food value. So it's not just that it lasts long, but it retains its nutritional value that length of time. And that's huge.
Totally. I love that, Cindy. Thank you. And we have a testimonial today. And it is Kimberly Keeler. She's going to share with us why she likes Thrive. Kimberly, do you want to just unmute yourself and share with us?
Hello. My name is Kim, and I have a son who actually has autism and cystic fibrosis, actually, and he's a kind of a picky eater, especially when it comes to his fruit and veggies, you know. And he eats these freeze dried foods up really fast, actually faster than he would eat, you know, with the normal typical foods that you usually get from the grocery store, you know. And I have to worry about how much calories he's taking because he needs extra calories and good salty and fatty diet, you know. And especially after he goes swimming or exercises or something like that, he needs a really quick snack to eat real quick, you know. And I love how quick and easy it is to put the freeze dried foods together, and I don't need to worry about bringing an ice pack, which can be like really heavy, you know. So it's really nice and light, and it's already peeled and washed and cut and everything. And
Oh,
and I just mix it all together, you know, just be creative, mix different things together, or just, you know, grab or just separate them or whatever, you know, and he just eats it up really well.
I love that.
that's wonderful. Wow.
I did hear about kids sometimes who have autism or autistic. They're all about textures, and I've heard before that because Thrive is dry, it's easier for them, and it's not slimy and gooey and whatever like some other fruits can be. But I love that you shared that, Kimberly. Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, so now that you learned a little bit about the food, I just want to show you the couple ways that are the best ways to get it if this is something that you're interested in having in your home. So basically, we have what's called a delivery. A delivery program is where you set up you have a little account, you purchase what you want when you want it, and it ships directly to you. And if you happen to spend $100 or more in your shipment, you qualify for free shipping, and you get free shipping, and it comes right to your door or to your post office, depending on where you live. So that is a great way. But the very best way, I have to say, is the best way, is to be a consultant. Now, being a consultant has its perks. you not only get a kickback from your own purchases, you're getting free product and commissions, but you could share a little bit here and there. When I first started, I knew being a consultant was the best way to get the food, but I did not want to go out and tell people about it. So I was using the food, and by using the food, I ended up sharing the food. I actually had my son who was going to school every day and grabbing Thrive as snacks in his lunches. And I got a phone call from his teacher, and she's like, "What is this food?" She had some pineapple that was a snack in his lunch. She goes, "How do I get my hands on that?" So I started my business by a teacher that tasted my son's sample. He's the one that actually shared the food. But because we were using it, he loved it, he shared it, and that's what got my business going, is just by sharing. And there's great commissions and free food. If that's something you're interested in, we have starter kits that start at $40, which is pretty great. And we can explain that more to you if that's something you're interested in, but it is a great way to be able to get the food. Now, I told you we would cover 5 reasons why Thrive will make your life better. We covered them all today. I don't know if you picked them out, but the first is convenience. Karen talked about the convenience and no chopping, washing, or cooking, peeling, all of that. It's so much easier to have a healthy meal on the table within minutes. As fast as it would to make a bowl of cereal, you can have a Thrive meal prepared. Also, Cindy talked about the waste. The waste is great because you don't have to worry about wasting food with fresh produce in your fridge. It just sits on your pantry shelf. Also, there's the nutrition. The nutrition is amazing. You're getting more nutrients in the can than the fresh produce that you're buying at the grocery store, which is amazing. And the shelf life is so great that it gives you that peace of mind. It's like having food insurance on your pantry shelf. And the last was to make money. You can make a little extra money if that's something you choose to do. Now, I want to thank everyone for coming today. I will stop the recording and we will open it up to questions for anyone who would like to ask any questions.